All right, let's dive in. Today we're taking a deep dive into someone's personal notes on their tiramisu.
Ooh, sounds intriguing. Like getting a peek into their creative process.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just a recipe, it's more like their personal tiramisu philosophy.
I like that. Tiramisu philosophy. So what do we got?
Well, right off the bat, they're swapping out ladyfingers for biscotti. Chocolate hazelnut biscotti, to be precise.
Bold move. What's the thinking there?
Their notes mention a couple things. First, their mother-in-law makes a pumpkin biscotti tiramisu. That's a big hit.
Okay, so maybe some family inspiration there.
Yeah. And they also mention being a huge fan of Ferrero Rocher.
Ah, so that hazelnut connection is coming through already.
They even say they love hazelnut creamer in their coffee.
Wow, dedicated to the hazelnut.
It's a theme for sure. But here's another twist. They're making this tiramisu eggless.
Really? That's interesting. Why is that?
It was for a Friendsgiving, and one of their friends was pregnant.
Makes sense. But going eggless in tiramisu? That's going to be tricky.
Yeah, the notes talk about how eggs add so much richness and texture.
Exactly. So how'd they solve that?
Sweetened condensed milk.
Oh, clever. For that dense, custard-like quality.
And to balance it out, they use sour cream.
Smart move. Condensed milk can be pretty sweet on its own.
Which brings us to the next ingredient. They use dark chocolate shavings.
Nice. And the type of chocolate matters, right?
Oh, absolutely. They did a whole taste test, and their top pick was Lindt.
Lindt, good choice.
They even use Lindt hazelnut milk chocolate in their chocolate chip cookies.
There's that hazelnut again.
I know, right? It's everywhere. They even considered coconut cream for a bit.
Oh, interesting. Why coconut cream?
They're big on coconut rum.
Ah, so it's all connected.
And this attention to detail really points to what they call their tiramisu vision.
Tiramisu vision. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, they're all about contrasts. Contrasting flavors and textures.
I like where this is going. So how does that play out in the recipe?
So they have the mascarpone and coffee, which they see as the core of the tiramisu.
Yeah, those are the classics.
But then they add homemade whipped cream, too.
Oh, right. Because it's eggless. They're building that creamy texture in a different way.
Yeah.
But doesn't the condensed milk make it super sweet, even with the dark chocolate?
That's a good question. It seems like they are very aware of that. They talk a lot about wanting the coffee flavor to really come through.
Makes sense. They did say they loved coffee and hazelnut.
Exactly. And then there's the texture. They specifically mention wanting the biscotti to provide structure.
Interesting. So you have that crunch against the smooth cream.
Yeah, and they even talk about the visual contrast. The dark biscotti and coffee against the light cream.
It's a whole sensory experience.
Right. They want you to savor every layer, every contrast.
That's cool. So what kind of dark chocolate did they go with?
78%.
Ooh, nice. Dark, but not too intense.
They specifically wanted a dark chocolate flavor that wouldn't scare off people who don't usually like dark chocolate.
Smart. Striking that balance. But, it seems like there's more to this tiramisu than just the technical stuff.
Oh, definitely. They describe it as like a bridge between their inner and outer world.
That's deep.
It's clearly more than just dessert for them. It's connected to comfort, nostalgia, and all these personal things.
And this is where tira comes in, right? This subpersonality we've heard whispers about.
Exactly. It's like this tiramisu is a way for them to bring tira to life.
Wow. So we're not just talking about dessert anymore. We're talking about self-expression.
Absolutely. This tiramisu is a reflection of who they are.
I'm so curious to learn more about this tira. This is fascinating. So tira, like their own personal tiramisu muse?
Yeah, kind of. They describe tira as being all about contrasts, darkness and light.
Interesting. And they mentioned Tira being a necromancer cleric in those fantasy settings they write about.
Yeah, like that really embodies the whole duality thing.
Definitely. And it ties back to the tiramisu vision too, right? All those contrasting flavors and textures.
It's all connected. Like they've woven tira into the very fabric of the dessert.
It's like tira is an ingredient, adding another layer of complexity.
Absolutely. But there's a personal element too. They mentioned that Tira's awakening was connected to a really tough time in their life.
Oh, wow. So maybe this tiramisu, with all its contrasts and balance, reflects that in a way.
It could be. Like they found solace and strength in those opposing forces.
Yeah, it makes sense. And they also talk about the joy of sharing the tiramisu with others.
Oh yeah, they love seeing how people connect with it.
Maybe it's a way for them to share a part of themselves,
That tira part.
Exactly, without having to explicitly explain everything.
Like food becomes this nonverbal way of communicating something deeper.
And the cool thing is, everyone experiences it differently.
Some people might focus on the flavors.
Others on the textures.
Exactly.
And someone else might be totally drawn to the way it looks.
It's like looking at a painting. Everyone sees something different.
And that brings us back to food as self-expression. This tiramisu is like a window into who this person is.
Their journey, their creativity, their whole perspective.
It's pretty amazing. It makes you wonder what other culinary secrets are out there.
Right. Like what other masterpieces are hiding in people's kitchens?
And each one with its own story, its own flavors, its own connection to the person who made it.
I love that.
Yeah.
But you know what? We've been talking about someone else's journey this whole time.
True.
What about you? What kind of dishes resonate with you personally?
That's a good question. I've always been drawn to dishes with a story,
Oh, yeah.
Something with history and tradition woven into it.
So like those recipes passed down through generations.
Exactly. I love that. It's like you're tasting a piece of history.
I get that. For me, it's usually the simple things, the ones that bring back memories,
Ooh, tell me more.
like a warm bowl of soup on a cold day
Classic.
or homemade pie, the kind my grandma used to make.
Oh, those familiar flavors. They can be so comforting.
They really can.
Yeah.
It's amazing how food can transport you back in time.
It is. Like a time machine for your senses.
Even if it's a dish you haven't had in years, that first bite.
Boom, you're right back there.
It's like food has this power to unlock memories and emotions.
Absolutely. And it shows how powerful food can be as a way of storytelling and expressing yourself.
So for our listener out there, we want you to think about this.
Yeah. What about you?
What dish really speaks to you? What flavors and aromas take you back?
What's your culinary time machine?
We want you to take a moment and appreciate those special dishes that hold a place in your heart.
Yeah, it's amazing how certain tastes can just take you back.
It really is. And it's not just about the past, right? It's about how we can take those familiar flavors and make them our own.
That's exactly what we've been seeing with this tiramisu. It's a classic, but they've given it their own personal spin.
Right. They've taken something traditional and made it totally unique. It's inspiring to see that kind of passion. It makes you wonder if we all have a dish like that inside of us. You know, a recipe just waiting to be, like, personalized.
I bet we do. Maybe it's a family recipe that needs a little updating, or a childhood favorite we can make even better.
Or even just something simple that we can make special.
Exactly. The important thing is to find those flavors and techniques that speak to you. Like, what's your style?
And don't be afraid to experiment. Have fun with it. Add your own twist.
That's how new traditions are born, right?
Exactly. Taking inspiration from the past, but making it your own.
So as we wrap up this tiramisu deep dive, we want to leave you with a thought.
Yeah, what about you, listener? What dish resonates with you?
How would you reimagine it? How would you make it your own?
Maybe it's time to dig out those old family recipes.
Or check out some food blogs for inspiration.
Or maybe just trust your gut and get creative.
You never know what you might come up with.
And remember, it's not just about the final product.
Right. It's about the whole experience.
The joy of making something delicious and meaningful.
So get in the kitchen and have fun.
Let your culinary voice be heard. Because everyone has a story. And sometimes the best way to tell it is through food.